Hi, my name's Tyler Nicewonder, and we're going to be talking about this word here, hacker. So to start off, we're going to talk a little bit about the background and the ethics of what it means to be a hacker. Then we're going to go into a little bit about the history and how hacking came to be, and finally, what it actually means to be a hacker. So when most people hear the word hacker, they think of something like this. Bad guys sitting on laptops, breaking into computers and stealing passwords or personal information. And of course, these bad guys are all wearing ski masks. Now, although these people may or may not be hackers, this really isn't what hacking is about. Hacking isn't about breaking into computers at all. It's about understanding computers and systems in general. And it also turns out that just about no one ever wears a ski mask while they're working on computers. So before we get too far into talking about hackers, we should talk a little bit about ethics. So ethics are incredibly important to a hacker. We're all very curious people, and we love to poke and prod around at any system that we can get our hands on. So it's very important to remember what sorts of things are acceptable when you're doing this type of exploration. So it's not acceptable to try to gain access to machines you don't own, and it's very easy to accidentally cross over boundaries and break systems by accident. So a few ground rules and things that you should always keep in mind. So first is don't poke at things that you don't have permission to break. If you're interested in looking at security, it's very easy to contact people and let them know what you're interested in doing. And a lot of times people are very helpful. But in general, you should be cautious because many systems are more fragile than you might think, and especially when you start poking around at them, it's very easy to break things by accident. So the next thing is, if you ever do find systems that might be in jeopardy, you should let someone know right away. This means responsibly disclosing any vulnerabilities you might find and allowing them proper time and proper information so that they can close these holes and make sure that their systems stay safe. In general, it's pretty easy to stay ethical. All you have to do is use good judgment and be a responsible person. And as long as you're doing that, it should be pretty easy to stay out of trouble. So now that that's out of the way, we can get back to talking about hacking. So from a historical perspective, modern hacking culture was born around the 1970s with what are known as phreaks. So these are hackers who were learning about how phone networks were created and eventually understood all sorts of things about how the telephone networks worked, including long-distance phone calls and multi-party calls, and were actually able to use their knowledge to do these things for free, much to the chagrin of networking companies. Now around the 1980s, they started using these phone networks along with modems and forming things like bulletin board systems so that they can communicate and share all the information and things they've learned. Also in the 1980s, we started seeing the formation of hacker groups such as the Chaos Computer Club. This was one of the most popular and famous hacker groups, and it's still around today. And later in the 80s, around 1985, you started seeing electronic publications such as 2600 and Phrack. These magazines published lots of information about security and computer technology in general. And finally, in the 1990s, the World Wide Web came into popularity, and this led to a huge increase in the use of computers and the importance of computer security. Now, as hackers came into popularity, we also started seeing a lot more hacking groups. So the Chaos Computer Club we already mentioned before, which formed in Germany, but there are also other groups such as the Cult of the Dead Cow, Legion of Doom, and Loft. In this picture right here, we can see some members of the Loft in the mid-80s. So what made these groups popular and well-known? So the Chaos Computer Club is widely known for their yearly Chaos Computer Conference. So this actually started in the late 80s and is still going on every year today. Now, the Cult of the Dead Cow has published many tools and electronic magazines that contain information about how to test security and new techniques in computer security. Similarly, the Legion of Doom organized bulletin board systems as well as electronic magazines for sharing information about computer security. Similarly, Loft published many tools, publications, and presentations. Most famously, a presentation to the United States Congress in the 1990s about the internet and computer security on the internet and how important it was. So one thing we see with all these hacking groups is that they became popular not because of systems they've broken into or exploits they've developed, but rather tools and information that they've organized and shared with other people. So it turns out that in the hacker community, it's a lot more important to share information and to teach others about hacking and computer security than it is to actually be breaking into systems. And really, hacking is more about education than anything else. So amusingly enough, one of the long-haired members of Loft that we heard about before was this man here named Mudge. And in the last few years, he actually became a program manager at DARPA and working for the Department of Defense. So this goes to show you that not only can hackers clean up nicely when they need to, but that really these are all good people that are concerned about computer security and are really just trying to help others. So what's hacking all about? Well, the main thing is just curiosity. All the people that developed as hackers in the 80s and 90s were really just trying to learn about how systems worked. So the next most important theme is learning through hands-on experimentation. So the important part here is hands-on. A lot of people can read about computer security or computers in general through books, but really what separates hackers from everyone else is doing things firsthand. So by actually playing with systems hands-on, breaking things, and taking things apart is really the best way of learning about how things work. And that's really what hacking is about. So next, it's trying to learn about how to understand all parts of a system. It's pretty easy to understand either at a very low level how things work without getting the bigger picture, or to understand how a system works at a very abstract level without understanding all the nitty-gritty details. But to be a hacker, you have to understand everything, all the way from the low level to the high level. So lastly, hacking is about using this knowledge for good. It's not enough to just understand a system, but also to help others to understand and help others to fix systems when they're broken is really what hacking is about. As we saw earlier, the way hackers became popular wasn't just by understanding or being the smartest or best, but by helping others and publishing information to help others learn how security works as well. So, hopefully now you understand a little bit more about what it means to be a hacker. And remember, only evil hackers wear ski masks while using the computer.